Liane, thank you so much for being here on Spark TV. It is so fabulous to have you. Thank you.
Oh, wonderful to be here, Danielle.
I know we have been following each other for a little while, so I'm so excited to share your story with the Spark community. Look, the way I like to kick off is just asking you, what is it that you do? Let's give the people a window into your soul.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I wear two hats in business. So I have co-founded, or a few years ago, I co-founded a business, a property technology business.
Wow.
Called Property Whispers. And it was a world's first at the time, which is very, very exciting. And what it is, or what it does, very briefly, is that for those who are looking to purchase a property, it's those off-market properties that a lot of people can't get access to. So what I've done is I've actually put that off-market sales approach, if you like, online. So it's a bit like it's a matching dating website. In fact, we were coined by sort of TV Channel 7. I was interviewed on Channel 7 News, and that's like the Tinder for property in the off-market space.
They always find a way to include Tinder for something in their marketing. I love it.
Exactly, exactly. So that's a matching platform. So buyers join the platform, they put up their specifications, and then agents and sellers put up their properties, and then they are connected, and it's an opportunity for them to talk about the property, and then hopefully a sale occurs. So that's Property Whispers. That's my first hat. And then the second hat that I wear, which is a consulting business. So it's my name, Liane Fletcher Consulting. And that came about as a result of what I had been doing in the technology world, in the property technology business, is that I had a lot of other small business owners who were really keen to understand what it is that I do in terms of marketing activities, and how I could help them in growing their business and getting them more visible. So that's what I do as well. And I love connecting with people. So I really enjoy, the one-on-one consulting. I really enjoy helping people find their own way in marketing, because it's a little bit overwhelming for small business owners to sort of know where to start. So I really break it down, make it easy for them, get a strategy that they understand and that they can implement. And so I help them on that journey.
Wow. So you don't sleep having two businesses?
I know.
And well, how did you get there? So, I mean, it sounds all very well and good to say, oh, I launched a prop tech business and I have a consulting firm.
Yes.
But, obviously that didn't happen on day one. Was there a career beforehand? How did you start these amazing businesses?
Oh, thank you. Yes. Well, I'm not going to show my age too much, but I've been spending, my career has always been in marketing and sales. And I love learning. So I've always been learning on the job. I actually did a science degree at university. So I was actually hoping that that's where I would sort of continue on, because that was my real passion in those days, was sort of really loving the science and the curiosity of things. It was what was driving me. And so I finished my science degree, but for somehow curiosity sort of turned the path into business. And I think it was because when I was a teenager, when I was younger, I worked in my parents' business. It was
what did they do?
It was a small manufacturing business. And so during the holidays, I would actually go and work on the reception, help, sort of people with sort of customer service roles, sort of the very basic things that you do when you're 15 years old. And then I moved up and I I worked in the showroom. So I had very early input, or very early introduction, if you like, to small business. And I understood or could see how customer service sort of came about, how you had to interact with people through sales. I sort of dabbled in sort of what I was calling marketing back then, in very early sort of 20s, sort of late teens, 20s. So my interest in business continued. So all that learning came about sort of in my career. So I've worked in small business marketing roles as well as in corporate. So I understand corporate marketing, I understand small business marketing, but I've always come back to small business because I love the challenges and I love the agility that small business can have as opposed to a sort of a large corporate. And then, I got married, had kids, and then I thought, oh, I'd love to try out real estate. So I thought I'm going to go and do a real estate course, which I did. And I'm a real estate agent for a few years. And it was at that point that I realized there was a problem while I was a real estate agent with people not accessing off-market properties. So I just jumped on the startup world. I just went, I've got to do it. I've got it. I believe there's a problem. There is a problem. A lot of people kept coming up to me, asking me to find the solution for their off-market properties. I had a solution online. There was nothing like it in the world, is what I thought at the time. And I'd done the research. And we've since then, I mean, we've won multiple awards for it being sort of this innovation. So I was really excited, and I've always, sort of having that startup journey, sort of into where I am today has led me to sort of help people on their journey, sort of whether it's sort of helping them be innovative and come up with ideas, and also through their sort of marketing strategies. So that's sort of my little career.
The journey. I love it. And I love that, it wasn't, I was 15 and I had this, prop tech idea. It is the journey, right? Like it is the attitude of consistent learning, and then one day seeing a problem and having the entrepreneurial spirit to actually solve it, right? Because I'm sure that when you saw that gap in the market, you didn't, have all of the tools in your toolkit. You didn't know how to build a tech platform or do this or do that. But you go, no, I know there's a problem here. I know what the solution is, and I've got enough sales and marketing now. So I'll figure the rest out.
Yep. Absolutely. You're absolutely spot on. And I think that's what a lot of small business owners or people who are looking to go into the startup world also struggle with, is they go, do I need to know absolutely everything? What is it? Should I do it? Should I not do it? And I think so many people miss out on those opportunities, or maybe there's a little bit of a personality thing for those who are going into startups. There's risks involved. You need to sort of really assess that risk factor. You've got to spend a lot of time in it, if not full time, in building this. But there's so many resources out there, and there's so many ways that you can go on that journey and not be alone as well. Yes. And a lot of people are doing it. And, like yourself, you're helping sort of startup founders on that journey. So I think it's a really, really a good thing to do if you feel you've got a real problem that, that you've got a solution for.
Totally. Well, it's a great place to start, isn't it? Like really evaluating whether, people want that problem solved. And if you have enough to kind of, understand how to create some type of product to solve it, or at least the beginnings of, then it's just a good place to start. I feel like there's enough businesses out there kind of doing nothing. Starting with the problem is always a good idea. But I mean, that's like, lessons you and I have learned over decades. So I'm sure that you've learned a whole lot of lessons in both reviewing so many different small businesses in the consulting practice, but also going through the journey yourself. What have been some standout moments or key lessons that you've really, I guess, learned, come across, that you would impart wisdom to other people listening in?
Yeah, absolutely. There are lessons that I've learned, and really happy to share those with you. I think that, as I mentioned earlier, and you've mentioned as well, understanding what the problem is, like really focusing on knowing what those customers or your audience have got the issues around, and writing it down and turning it upside down, and just really being clear that that problem does exist and doing the research. Like,
Yes.
really, really important to do the research, and not just speak to family and friends, but go out, talk to those customers, actually, you know, talk to people who you don't know and ask them, what do you think about this, and get their feedback. And that does take a lot of time. And then being able to know that what solution you've got really does solve that problem. And again, it's talking to your customers and seeing how they react and having their feedback. So I think that's really important, to clear on the problem and make sure that you're solving it with whatever the solution that you have for that audience. I think also it's important in any business, and to stand out in business, is to be different. Now, you know, just having another business that, you know, you may be, you know, selling a product, let's say it's pet food, you know, there's lots of people out there, companies big and small, who are selling pet food, but you can find a way that makes you stand out as being different to everybody else in the marketplace, and have a fabulous business, and you know there's lots of customers for. So you've really got to find what is your sweet spot. What makes you different? Is it your service? Is it your product? Is it the business model? Like, you know, how are you selling those products or services? So I think being different, and a lot of it can come down to also the founder, you know, the way they present themselves. You know, if you're the face of the business, then that's a difference already. So I think that's a lesson I've learned, is to really just keep at sort of what is that makes you different, and you know, you can have a great business. Being visible and in different forms. So, you know, having a great website, making sure that your photos out there really position, you know, you like the photos that you're putting out there.
It always helps, doesn't it?
It does. And knowing what it is you do, and share it really succinctly as well. So, you know, making sure you can talk about your business. So make sure that it's clear on your website, on your LinkedIn, or all your social media, Instagram, Facebook, just making yourself visible, as well as being online. It's important to be offline as well. So, you know, go to networking events, getting out there, talking to people, speaking to your customers. Don't be, don't also hide behind, you know, the business, and not actually be the front person. I think that's a really important thing as well.
I think these days especially, isn't it? I talk to a lot of people who don't want to be that person. You know, they really do want to sit in the background and have the value that the business provides kind of stand out. But it's really interesting when you talk about the fact that you've got to stand out in business. You're right. No one else is us. Like, that is, you know, a surefire way to be different and stand out, is actually leveraging your personal brand and putting yourself out there. I love that point.
Yeah. And I think people love to talk to people, and they resonate with people, you know. So I think more and more now, post-COVID, we've all sort of like have this need to connect, even if it's virtual, online, or, you know, and if you can get out and be in person, it's even a bonus these days. But, you know, just that connection, I think, is really important. So I think being an individual, having, you know, we're all individuals, and having that voice, that's what makes you stand out, and how, and what your passions are, and what you believe in. I think that's really important.
You're right. And it's so powerful, I think. And I'm always blown away. You know, I think you're right. People buy from people. You know, we teach that in sales, right? So it is funny that, you know, if you were starting a business, that you're sort of hesitant to put yourself out there. I guess it's difficult with, and I love your point about loving the photos that you put out, right? I'm such a big, look, I'm, you know, vain as the next person. I don't love showing up without makeup on. It doesn't make me feel good. I know everyone's all about it these days, but it just doesn't, I just don't feel confident when I do that. So I make sure that if I'm going to be on a Zoom, I pop a little bit of makeup on so I feel good showing up on camera. but I also invest in personal branding shoots as well. So you're right. You've just got a bank there, a bank of photos and content that you can post that you feel good about. And then you don't have to sit there in the daily, oh my God, I don't want to post anything, and just waste hours and hours spiraling because you've got stuff that you're proud of.
Yeah, exactly. And having a bank of photos, like, don't just go and get one selfie or,
Yeah.
you're out. Like, I think investing in a good photographer, I think it's great. I think that really helps, because then or you'll feel that's a good photo. Like, I didn't take that as a selfie. Someone else did. They're the experts, and you can actually use it in so many different forms on your posts. And then having, photography in situ, like actually having a bank of photography for all your sort of marketing activities is fantastic. And it helps create all that content. Like, like we all have struggle sometimes to, what am I going to put out there? What content, what words am I going to say? But photo says a lot. So I think photography is really, really important, particularly being visible. And I think I've got 2 more lessons.
Tell me. Yes. I literally already have a post-it note full. So please hit me with more. I'm ready.
Well,
I'm
I
ready.
just thought I'd share this with you and your audience. And one of the things that I've learned is never stop reading up on anything, that's obviously related to your business, but keep learning. Don't just stay, this is all I know. I think improving your skill sets along the way, all the technology and all the tools that we have. I'm not going to say they're easier than you think, because there does take time to get used to things, but we live in a world where we can have things at our fingertips, and they are so powerful. So I think just learning about what's available, systems, and, what will make your life in business so much easier. I think a lot of small business owners struggle with that because they don't know what tools to use. So just learning about all those things and reading up on those who have had success previously is good. And then, and it just keeps the creativity alive, doesn't it? Sort of you constantly thinking about, well, what's the next thing? And I think that's really important, is just to keep those creative ideas going.
I know. I could not agree. Just before you tell your lesson, I just want to agree with you, because it's really funny. Obviously, I've got all the books in the background here if anyone's watching the video version of this. But that is something weird happens. I always say this, if anyone listens to this podcast, they'll hear me bang on about this all the time. But something bizarre happens when I read, and it's like my brain gets like the focus time to actually come up with ideas. I can be staring at a blank page for all day and come up with nothing. And then I'll go give up. I'll go read a book outside, and all of a sudden all of this stuff comes to me. Exactly. Even if it's not a business book, it's just almost like it's, it does something to your brain. It does. Sometimes it gives you ideas, but also I think it just gives you the space to think.
Absolutely.
I think you're so right, that continuous learning.
That reading puts you in your own world, takes you out of that sort of business online, whether you like to read a physical book or audible books. I listen to audible books as well. Amazing. The brain does amazing things when you're in your own space and you come up with ideas. Make sure you write them down, but it's a good thing to keep reading or keep listening. I highly recommend it. And then my last lesson, sort of what I find or have over my journey is being able to test all marketing ideas. So test those activities, but don't get too caught up in, oh my gosh, if it fails, what happens? What do I do next? So always use if you're having to pay Facebook ads or, small bits of money, like always give yourself some time. This is a test. So you do it for a little while, analyze the results, and then if it works, great, do it again. And then you can scale, slowly and more efficiently. So I always think it's important to try different things in your business, to try different marketing activities, see what you like doing. So some people like being on Zoom and talking on podcasts. Other people like writing. Other people, like sort of doing live webinars or, Facebook lives and things. So test things, but don't feel like you have to stick with it. I always think, see where your groove is, and then I think that will make you as the business owner sort of happier in showing up. Showing up in business. Yeah.
And it's so funny too. Like I always think that, when you think about sales and marketing, right, there's so many different channels that you could try. To kind of think that the first thing that you do is going to be a success is very optimistic. So I think you've got to have that testing mindset, right? You do have to kind of go, all right, there's hundreds of things I could try. And within each one of those different channels or tests, there's all different variations of things that I could do. So I'm going to have to keep a pretty open mind and track it and do more of the stuff that works, and the stuff that doesn't work, don't consider that a failure. That's just a test, and move on to the next thing. I love that. That is such good advice too, because I feel like sometimes we're so emotionally invested in everything we do because it's our business baby, that we do get a bit disheartened when things don't work out.
Yeah, exactly. And that is the joy of a startup as well, is like, that sort of excitement of, what's going to work. Obviously what's not going to work is not that exciting, but it's sort of a learning, but you learn from your mistakes or the things that don't work. So I don't feel as it is, and get sort of quite sort of concerned by it. Learn from it, change it, or, just tweak and move on and do those activities that are going to sort of drive it forward. So I think there's a lot of testing, iterating, and repeat, rinse, repeat, the whole thing.
Oh my God, it never ends, does it? It never ends. I love these lessons so much because I think they're universal. I think any person in business listening today could take any one of those lessons and apply it to their business. My question to you is, sometimes as business owners, it's a little bit of a lonely road. We might be sitting down to do our 2023 planning with a blank page in front of us, and we're all by ourselves. And, yes, we're listening to these lessons and thinking, how can I apply them? Do you have any tips for, being self-motivated and being able to, self-direct some of these lessons? How have you found, obviously you work with a lot of business owners, so you probably see them struggle a bit sometimes. You are your own boss in both businesses. How do you think people who might be by themselves can kind of find the motivation and inspiration to apply these different things in their business?
Yeah, no, it's a really good question. And I spend a lot of time on my own also, delving into, the work, as we all do. And it's a lot of thinking time. And I always try and every day make sure that I do have a conversation with people. And if it's getting out of your home or office or whatever, actually getting up, getting out, and just, whether it's going for a walk or it's having a coffee in a coffee shop. You can even take your computer with you if you feel like. I sometimes go and listen to podcasts in a coffee shop just so I can see people.
Yes.
So I'll be doing that sort of thing, So I think it's really important to stay connected. So connected with individuals, family or friends or networking groups that you're a part of. I think that's really important to sort of get out there and sort of definitely keep connected, because it is, during COVID, I think when everyone was alone and there was that concern. I think now we need to just make sure that we're sort of face to face, or at least talking to people. So that would be one thing I would say. The other thing I would suggest is just get into a routine, like try and get into that daily routine, because then the brain is like that, knowing that there is a process, or there's you've got a schedule. So you know what's coming up, what you're looking forward to. So you're actually getting into that next sort of thing on the list.
I need to take that advice. That was advice I just needed to hear.
So I think that's sort of a good process. I think it's just, I think you just need to be kind to yourself. Just, if it means taking a day off, the business is still going to be there. Or, if you feel you're not working at your capacity for whatever reason, we all have good days and bad days, is actually be kind to yourself. Don't try not to stress about these things. It will come and go, and, just switch off and do something else. I think people try to push through things mentally.
You feel guilty.
Feel guilty, but you don't get a great result when you're not at your best.
That is so true.
Yeah.
And I love where you started as well, where you said about thinking time. I also think that people feel guilty about thinking. Like, I feel like sometimes as business owners, we feel like we need to be in the doing to be productive and making progress. But I think that thinking time is actually undervalued. I think giving yourself that space to process and refine your ideas and strategize and think of what's next. Like, I call it my CEO time. It usually happens over a glass of bubbles in the bath, but it's just giving myself space to think. And I literally do it in the bath because A, that's relaxing, but B, because you can't really take your laptop in. You're forced to be with your own thoughts. I think that's really, really important.
Yeah. Absolutely. I'll share a little secret with you as well.
Please.
The idea for the property technology platform that I launched actually happened while I was in the shower.
I love it.
That whole thinking of, we've got a problem here, how do I solve it? It happened when you're relaxed. When I was relaxed. And I think that's so important to find your, what makes you feel good and to go into that zone and not feel guilty and actually, use that time to think, strategize, plan, and just decompress. And, we're so busy doing so much, but I think it's so important, absolutely, to go and just have that time to yourself, to think or meditate, whatever works for you.
Yeah. And I love what you just said there, like, find what relaxes you, because you're right, it does look different for every person.
Absolutely.
I know a girl who actually listens to heavy metal music. And that's her form of meditation. And I mean, that would drive me nuts, but that's the thing that like gets her excited, gets her clear. I was like, that's so cool. Like, find the thing that works for you. It doesn't have to be what everybody else does.
Exactly. I mean, there are times where I will put on loud dance music so I can dance around, that gets that sort of creativity happening. Something that makes me feel good. And I love dancing around the house and being positive and I think that all is that you got to have a bit of have that joy in your day to day. So
it's spot on, right? Like, it's so funny. I find that a lot of the times people go into business because they want more freedom, they want more flexibility, they want more joy in their life, and it just ends up being stress every day. And I think that the only thing I've learned is that I am responsible for the joy in my life, and I am allowed to and can choose joy even when the world is burning around me.
Absolutely. I think it's really important. I think that's one big lesson we've all learned coming out of COVID, isn't it? Is to actually really enjoy life, enjoy the moment.
Yes.
Be present, with family and friends, and not worry about the work. Come back to it when you're focused.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I love it. Well, I mean, interesting. So COVID just sparked this question for me. So not specifically around COVID, but obviously starting businesses, not always smooth sailing. Have there been any challenges for you, either business, whatever, that, has provided a good, maybe it was a bit of an aha moment of, okay, didn't see this challenge coming, that you might be able to reflect on and share some wisdom with us?
Well, the challenges, I probably refer back to some of those activities, which is where my lesson has come out of in terms of the marketing activities, things that, you know, don't always work. One can spend a bit of money on an activity that it doesn't always think or come out,
yes,
you know, how you expect.
Yes. It hurts more sometimes when there's money involved, doesn't it?
Yes,
It's not just our ego, it's also costs money, like, oh.
Yeah, and particularly when you think this is going to be a winner, like, great, I can't wait for it to happen. And then
I think that about all of my ideas. So, you know.
Exactly. And I think one of the other sort of big challenges I've had is, and, you know, working from home is time management and just making sure that I set out what I'm going to do. I can't believe it's almost the end of the year. And, you know, there are things that I did want to get done that unfortunately just have dropped off the perch, just haven't got done, but they'll get back on. If and I always look at it and say, well, it obviously wasn't that important at the time, or it was on the wrong time of the calendar, whatever it may be, or something else had happened. But I think the time management challenges when you work alone can be a really important thing to sort of manage. In fact, I've just come out of a planning session, and the beauty of this planning session is, if anyone is looking at planning for the year or have done their planning for the year, is to get yourself a calendar from January to December and mapping out absolutely everything from personal dates, event dates, networking dates, your sort of launch dates. What is it that you want to do in the year in terms of product, whether it's new business products and offers? And it's what's wonderful about a calendar, it's so simple, is that it's physically in front of you. So I do encourage you to actually print it out.
I love that. Yes.
I'm
all about the physical notebooks, pens, Post-its. Yeah.
Print it out and give yourself a few hours to really sort of map out a really good plan. So to me, then the challenge of that is not in your head, you actually put it out on paper.
Yeah. And I love that because, you know, part of, you know, another challenge that we have in business is that overwhelm of, I don't know what to do next. And you're right. If you have actually taken the time to go, right, this is my plan, and now I've mapped it out across 12 months, and now it is literally sitting in front of me, you remove that block, you know, and make it easier for yourself to take the next step, even on the days where you're feeling a little bit unmotivated or stuck.
Yeah. Absolutely. And, you know, at least, and you've got dates in front of you, and those dates may move, but at least you can see it, it's there. If you need to change things, then you can, but it's not all in your head. And I think as small business owners, we keep a lot in our head. There's, you know, I do a lot of thinking. I get ideas. It's write it down, get yourself a notebook. If, you know, start journaling, put all your ideas in a notebook, and then you can come back to it, read it. And when you want to start looking back, did I write that? Did I really think that? Or maybe that was a good idea. And then you'll go and do something with it. Yeah.
Oh, I love it so much. Liane, you are absolutely incredible. Thank you for today and sharing your wisdom with the Spark community. I know that I have filled up pages of my Post-its, so you've inspired me. And this is the perfect time of year to be, you know, talking about lessons and planning. So absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you, Danielle. It's been an absolute pleasure.